Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jenny. I'm from jennycarddesigns. Thanks so much for joining me today. My YouTube channel contains content that is intended to share paper crafting tutorials and inspiration with all of you. I hope that you enjoy. Okay, so I had a couple of things that I wanted to share with you today. And the first thing I want to share are these blending brushes. I picked this package of blending brushes up from Amazon. There were 10 brushes in the package for $20 Canadian. I will leave a link in the description box down below where you can find these brushes. Now, the thing about these brushes that I wanted to share with you is that they are the exact same as all the other blending brushes without the extremely high cost, which is really great, especially for Canadians. Sometimes it's harder to find those great, wonderful, crafty supplies that all of the most famous and wonderful YouTubers use. And those YouTubers always inspire us, and then we can't afford the products because, you know, the shipping costs or the conversion of the US dollar to Canadian dollars and so on. So I found these brushes on Amazon, and they are pretty much comparable to Gina K blending brushes, Simon Says Stamp blending brushes, Tailored Expressions, and so on. So I've got, for comparison here, a Gina K brush and one of my new black ones, and I'm just feeling the bristles. Everything feels the same. The texture of the bristles, the shape of the handle, the flexibility, it's the same, identical as these two other brushes. The other one I have here is Tailored Expressions. And I'm telling you, I paid a heck of a lot more money for these other two sets of brushes than I did for these black ones from Amazon. Also, I have this little ink blending thing, this little stand here that I had printed for me. Now, the company that creates my little ink pad holders also designed this little ink blending station for me so I can pop in my brushes and all of my Jenny Cards ink pad holders. So I've got a space for 5 things here. I've got a couple of distress ink holders. I also have a mini ink cube one. I don't know where it is right now, but I do have that one. And then I have my regular die ink pad holders. So this little station kind of holds all my things. And there's even a little tiny pocket in the front where I can put a little wet cloth so I can wipe up as I go. So for today, I'm going to test out these new brushes, and I'm going to use this layered stencil from Gina K Designs. It came in her most recent kit. This is the watercolor kit. And I wanted to share how this stencil works and what it looks like. So I'm going to use some ink and some of my brushes, and I'm going to ink up this layered stencil. So this is basically a floral with some greenery, and what I'm trying to do is use some Post-it notes to sort of mask off that floral element, because I want the greenery, obviously the leaves and stems, to be green, and I don't want the flower to be green. I want that to be a sort of pinky peach. So I'm trying to cover the flower as best as I can and ink up my stencil. And I'm using a piece of Neenah Classic Crest Solar White 110 pound cardstock. I find this cardstock is great for card bases. I don't find it so great for ink blending or stamping, but I find that this cardstock has a little bit of tooth to it, so sometimes you don't get the smoothest results, but I do love it. It's one of my most favorite used cardstocks. Gina K has some really, really great cardstock for ink blending. It's got a really smooth surface, and the trouble with finding Gina K cardstock in Canada is just that. It's hard to find in Canada. I know of a couple of stores that sell it, but it's, again, comes down to that price point for Canadian dollars. So it's a little bit tricky to find the right sort of, you know, quality and balance for your money too, right? So anyway, so I've gone ahead and inked up that first part, and I gave up on the Post-it notes, and I'm just trying to use my ink blending tool and just trying to sort of direct the ink where I want it to go. I'm doing my best, trying not to overlap onto the greenery, and I didn't do too bad of a job. I really like the results in the end. So I'm just inking up, keeping the center darker and letting that color sort of fade out. And this color I'm using here is Gina K Designs Peach Bellini. And for the green, I used Gina K Designs Key Lime ink. So there's the first layer of this stencil. How cute is that? it's so watercolory and looks really neat. So I'm going to take the second layer, and it lines up so easily. You just pop it right on top. You can tell immediately if it's in line where it's supposed to be. So you just kind of, move it around a little bit till it gets in place. And I'm going to pull out some more ink. I've got Hero Art's Pale Tomato, and I'm going to grab a new ink blending brush here, and I'm going to ink up my flower. And this is going to give us a second layer on our flower. And I'm just creating a little bit of depth there and making it darker in the center and letting that color sort of fade out. And then I'm taking another ink. I've got jennycarddesigns Grass Green ink for my second layer of my greenery on my floral. And so far, this is what we got. Now I'm going to take the second stencil. All the stenciling we've done so far has been on the first stencil. So I'm going to take the second stencil, and this adds a little bit more to the center of our flower. So I'm going to use that same Pale Tomato ink again, and I'm going to make it a little bit darker in the center. So I'm layering up that Pale Tomato ink to get a really deep sort of rich red in the center here. So it goes from peach to orange to red. Okay, that looks beautiful. And then I've got these little dots in the center. They're the final element to this floral. I decided to just use the green because I have the brush out and I was too lazy to change colors to anything else. So I just went ahead and inked it up with that green. And I like the way that looks. Here we go. This little floral element is complete, and I'm going to turn this little tiny panel into a birthday card. So I'm going to make a mini slimline card. So I'm just going to take my trimmer and chop off the sort of edges of the cardstock where I went over, and once I get the panel cleaned up, then I'll kind of determine how big that I want the panel to be. And then I'm going to create a card base. I grabbed a piece of jennycarddesigns Peach Bellini cardstock, and this is a perfect match to jennycard's Peach Bellini ink. I'm going to cut this down to 6 inches by 6 inches. Now this is a little bit smaller than your typical slimline card base, but for today's slimline card, I'm just going to make a card that's 3 by 6 inches. And this is a really, really wonderful idea and a perfect size if you have 12 by 12 cardstock to create slimline cards. Then you get 4 cards out of one piece of 12 by 12 cardstock. I'll share more about that in a video coming up soon. So I've got this piece of jennycarddesigns Peach Bellini. I'm going to pop it in my scoreboard and score this at 3 inches. And then I'll crease my fold, and this will give me my final measurement, slimline card measuring 3 by 6. So I went back and I cut that panel down one more time. I wanted a little bit more of that peach cardstock to show through. So I'm cutting away little bits off of each side so that my image can remain centered. So I cut off a 1/4 of an inch on one side, 1/4 of an inch on the other, and so on. And then we have this nice peach margin frame around our panel. So I pop that up with a piece of craft foam. I just trimmed that piece of craft foam to fit right in behind my panel so that you wouldn't see it, but it would give it nice, even raised dimension. I've also got some little gems here. These are a buttercream gem from Pretty Pink Posh, and I'm just going to use my jewel picker and some glue, and I'm going to drop down a few dots of glue and put a little jewel on top to add a little bit of sparkle. I'm going to use the So Many Sentiments stamp set from jennycarddesigns watercolor card kit, and I'm going to stamp the word Happy Birthday on a scrap piece of that Peach Bellini cardstock. And then I'm going to take my scissors and fussy cut out the word Happy Birthday, and I'm just going to create a nice even little border around my words, and then I'm going to adhere that right down to the front of my card. Near the bottom center, I'll just add a little bit of dot runner to the back of my sentiment and pop that on the front of my card. I had also cut a piece of cardstock that measures 2.5 inches by 5.5 inches and popped it on the inside of my card base so that I had somewhere to write a personal message. And this card is complete. I'm not going to do much else to this. Super simple, and it's beautiful and sparkly, and I've got a perfect birthday card. And I actually have already given this card to my niece Abby, who just turned 13 years old. So happy birthday, Abby. I hope that you loved your birthday card and your birthday presents. All right, so that's going to be it for today's video. I hope that you've enjoyed today's share and the little card project that I've made. All the products that I used in today's video, you'll find linked in the description box down below. I hope that you'll consider supporting me and my Crafty YouTube channel by shopping with the links that I share in the description down below, as I earn a very small commission if you decide to make a purchase using my links. So that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend it here with me. I appreciate the support as always. Coming up on screen are a couple of videos I think you may enjoy. Have yourself a lovely day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!